Welcome to a Victim Bites Back special with me, Jonathan King, and I've been taken out to lunch by three dear friends of mine who've taken me to this fantastic, that's Pete, that's Jane, and coming up is Paul, this fantastic Brazilian restaurant in Queensway, just round the corner from me, where we've indulged in caipirinhas, which are special Brazilian cocktails, fantastic, very alcoholic and very tasty, full of things like mint and lemon and lime and things. And all the meats that are freshly cooked and carved at the table and are absolutely delicious. They come off each one. You have as much as you like. It's very much one of those eat as much as you like plates. And you gather also chips and beans and every kind of meal, including Brazilian specialities. That's me and Jane outside my house, taking in the sunshine and relaxing after our rather large meal, and before Jane gets into the torture massage chair I have in my home, and me with Paul and Pete. Some of you I know are bored to tears by all my cooking photos and comments and thoughts on cooking. But there's a couple of things. August is always a great year because we get Kent cob nuts. I am completely addicted to Kent cob nuts, as indeed are both my brothers and was my mother and anyone associated with us. We actually had a Kent cob nut tree in our garden down in Forest Green, which had to be underneath the most incredible netting so the squirrels couldn't get at them, and used to pick them every year and eat them. But this year they're early, or they were early, because obviously of the changes of the weather and all the rest of it, and actually arrived right at the beginning of the month. And I like them green, so they're very, very fresh and sort of almost bendy and not crunchy at all. I don't like them when they get to the stage that, for example, the ones you get in Cadbury's Fruit and Nut. I think that's too dry. They tend to have bits that stick in your throat. I really don't like that. I like them when they're bendy and soft and full of flavour. Anyway, the tragic thing about this year, when luckily I was back in the country and able to get loads and loads of them, almost all of them at the beginning of August were inedible and too dry. I think because of the weather changes. So the moment they even fill the kernel, because you know they got the shell and the kernel fills the shell, and the moment that happened, most of them were by then too dry and inedible. One of the great tragedies of my life. The other thing, of course, about August is the 12th of August, when the grouse season starts, and I do love grouse. And this year, young grouse have come out, but they're very, very rare. And as a result, the prices are absolutely through the roof. It's about 40 quid a young grouse. And they're tiny little things. And you usually buy a pair or a brace, as they call them. But I still love them. So it's 80 quid for a brace of young grouse. The result is that my nearby butchers that Lidgates, that actually always stocks them, normally run out within a day of them getting them and say, we're sorry, we're out, and they have a delivery every week, in fact every Tuesday. And so you have to be sure to go and get them or order them on a Tuesday to get them, because they were out by Wednesday and Thursday. This year, exactly the opposite. They're advertising them on their online site at this incredible price, admittedly, and there's a huge stack of them in the window, and very few seem to be moving out. The good news is they are absolutely delicious, not ruined at all by the weather, which I thought might happen because a lot of heather, and that's what grouse feed from, a lot of heather up in Scotland especially has been destroyed by the weather and other things. Nope, they're all terrific. Lovely grouse year. And of course, the big scandal this week has been the Elm Hotel in Epping. I think it's called the Elm Hotel. And the reversal of the injunction that the stupid judge put in place by the Court of Appeal, 3 judges, all of whom essentially called the judge who had put the injunction in place stupid. All the legal professions stick together and they don't like to do that sort of thing. So the appeal judges gave a get out, which was essentially that the judge hadn't seen the information from the Home Office, and that's what caused him to make his stupid ruling that all the migrants should be thrown out of the hotel. The actual thing is, of course, he was the one that stopped the Home Office putting the information forward, so doubly stupid. But actually it's very interesting, leaving aside the entire thing about migrants and being in hotels and everything else, which is completely unimportant and trivial and stupid. If they're not in hotels, they're going to be somewhere else, and the stupids are going to be complaining about that, not in my backyard, you know, if it's in a bed and breakfast down the road, or if it's next to a school or a convent or a monastery or a Tesco's, they're going to complain. This is dangerous for Tesco buyers. Anyway, they're all cunts, so who gives a shit about them? But this is not that's interesting. What's interesting is now the Court of Appeal judges have actually criticised earlier judgment, like the appeal judges did on the Malkinson case about the CCRC, when on grounds 2 and 3 in Malkinson's appeal, the judges, a Court of Appeal, said the CCRC should have referred him much earlier, and he wouldn't have had to spend 17 years in prison for a crime that he did not commit. And this is now really beginning to launch itself. The post office scandal. Hundreds, I think it was 900 defence lawyers failed their clients, the sub-postmasters, totally. Even with Malkinson, all his defence lawyers completely failed him because it had to be the appeal charity that free of charge investigated, which is what the CCRC are meant to have done, and decided that Malkinson was innocent. This is really getting to a point where people are going to start going, what is happening is insane. The entire judicial system, and by the way, a lot of other systems, are broken and are not up to date for this new century. People just don't seem to be able to cope with the fact that we're in a new world now with the internet providing facilities. I came across this wonderful picture of me as God from my 3 Women movie, which you can watch on 3womenx.com, where I'm not only God, but I'm a number of other characters, including a learned professor, and one of the commentators on Twitter said I look like a prime minister. Anyway, more rubbish, more interesting facts, and more thoughts and discussion coming soon when a victim bites back again.